Most people will never understand why you prefer to stay home. They'll call it laziness. They'll say you're antisocial. They'll invite you out, and when you say no, or when you say yes but spend the whole evening quietly wishing you were back on your couch, they'll give you that look. You know the one. That slight tilt of the head, that pause, that unspoken question hanging in the air. What is wrong with you? But here's what I need you to hear before we go any further. Nothing is wrong with you. Not a single thing. In fact, if you've ever felt different because of this, if you've ever quietly wondered whether your love of home, your need for stillness, your preference for a quiet evening over a loud party somehow makes you broken, then this video is going to change the way you see yourself forever. Because psychology doesn't see what you have as a flaw, it sees it as a fingerprint, a rare one. And today, we're going to look at exactly what that fingerprint reveals about the kind of person you truly are. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover about yourself might just be the most validating thing you've heard in a long time. Trait number 1. You are a deeply internal processor, and that is rarer than you think. Most people move through life reacting. Something happens, they respond, they move on. But you? You feel things more slowly, more completely. You don't just experience a moment, you turn it over, examine it, sit with it. And that process needs space. It needs quiet. It needs home. Psychology shows that people who prefer solitary environments tend to have what researchers call a high need for cognitive closure. They want to fully understand their experiences before moving forward. And that kind of mental depth doesn't happen in a crowded restaurant or at a party where someone is always asking you something. It happens in stillness, in your own space, in the kind of silence that most people are actually afraid of. Think about the last time you had a difficult conversation with someone. While other people might have walked away and forgotten it by the next morning, you were probably still thinking about it hours later, maybe even replaying it in the quiet of your room, trying to understand not just what happened, but why. Trying to understand the other person, trying to understand yourself. That isn't a weakness. That is emotional intelligence of the highest order. You process at a level most people never reach, and the reason you need home is because home is where your mind can finally do its best work. Trait number 2. You have an extraordinarily rich inner world, and it is your greatest hidden strength. Here's something the loud, always-on-the-go people will never tell you, because most of them don't even know it. Being comfortable alone requires something most human beings genuinely struggle with. It requires being interesting to yourself. It requires having a mind that doesn't need constant external noise to feel alive. Research in psychology consistently shows that people who enjoy solitude tend to score higher in creativity, self-awareness, and imaginative thinking. When you're home, you're not doing nothing. Your mind is building. It's connecting ideas, spinning stories, imagining scenarios, working through problems in ways that feel almost effortless because the quiet gives your thoughts room to breathe. You might be the person who gets lost in a book for 3 hours and comes out feeling more awake than you did going in, or the one who starts reorganizing something simple and suddenly finds yourself redesigning the entire idea from scratch. Or maybe you just sit by the window sometimes and think, really think, about life, about people, about what everything means. And you don't need anyone else there for that to feel full and complete. That inner richness you carry around, it is not emptiness. It is not loneliness. It is a whole universe that lives inside you. And home is the place where you get to actually live in it. Trait number 3. You have unusually high sensitivity, and it protects you in ways you don't fully realize yet. One of the most misunderstood things about people who love staying home is that they're often labeled as shy, anxious, or even antisocial. But psychology tells a very different story. Research by Dr. Elaine Aron on what she calls the highly sensitive person shows that roughly 15 to 20% of the population is born with a nervous system that processes sensory and emotional information more deeply than others. More sound, more stimulation, more emotional input. Everything gets turned up a few notches for you. That means a crowded mall isn't just a crowded mall, it's a full sensory experience. A tense moment between two people across the room that no one else noticed? You noticed. Someone's tone of voice shifting slightly. You felt it before you even understood it. You walk into environments and read them in a way most people simply can't. And when you come home after a day in the world, after all of that input, all of that emotional data, you need to decompress. You need to return to a space that doesn't demand anything from you. That isn't weakness. That is a finely tuned system taking care of itself. The remarkable thing about this sensitivity is what it gives you in return. You tend to be deeply empathetic. You form fewer but profoundly meaningful connections. You notice beauty in things other people walk right past. You feel music differently. You experience joy more fully when it comes, because you experience everything more fully. The same sensitivity that sometimes makes the world feel like too much is the exact same quality that makes you feel everything deeply and completely. That is not a flaw to fix. That is a gift to understand. Trait number 4. You are fiercely intentional about your energy, and that is a sign of profound self-knowledge. Most people in the world spend their energy without thinking. They say yes when they mean no. They go out when they're already exhausted. They surround themselves with people who drain them and wonder why they always feel hollow. But you are different. You have learned, maybe not even consciously, to guard what you have, to protect your inner resources the way someone protects something truly precious. Psychology refers to this as having a strong sense of self-regulation. Studies show that people who choose solitude intentionally, not out of fear or avoidance, but out of genuine preference, tend to have higher emotional resilience and a clearer sense of personal identity. They know who they are, they know what fills them up, and they know, without apology, what does not. Think about the social invitations you've turned down, not because you didn't care about the people involved, but because you knew, deep down, that going would have cost you something. That quiet instinct you have, the one that tells you when you need to retreat, when you need to rest, when you need to be alone with yourself. That is not selfishness. That is wisdom. A wisdom that takes most people decades to develop, if they ever develop it at all. You already know your limits. You already know what restores you. You already know that an evening at home isn't wasted time, it's invested time. Time given back to yourself, so that when you do show up for others, you show up fully, completely, with everything you have. And that makes you, quietly, without any fanfare, one of the most grounded people in any room you choose to walk into. Now take a moment and sit with all of that for a second. You came to this video maybe feeling a little misunderstood, maybe a little tired of explaining yourself, maybe just a little curious about whether this thing that sets you apart might actually mean something. And what we've uncovered together today is this: your love of home isn't avoidance. It's not fear. It's not something you need to fix or apologize for or work around. It is the outward expression of an inward depth that most people will spend their whole lives searching for. You process deeply. You imagine richly. You feel fully. You protect your energy wisely. These are not small things. These are the foundations of a life lived with real intention, real awareness, and real emotional intelligence. The world celebrates the loudest voices, the biggest personalities, the people who are always out, always visible, always performing. But quietly, in apartments and houses and rooms all around the world, there are people like you. People who have built something extraordinary on the inside. People whose stillness isn't emptiness, but depth. People whose solitude isn't loneliness, but freedom. And if this video helped you feel even a fraction more seen, even a little more at peace with who you are, then that is exactly what this channel is here for. If you want to keep understanding yourself on this level, to keep uncovering the hidden strengths in the personality traits you've always been told were something to hide, then subscribe. Because every week, we go deeper. We look at the psychology behind the things that make you feel different, and we show you, clearly and honestly, why different has always been where the real strength lives. You belong here, and so does everything that makes you, you.